Shemai. Today we're going to have a look at something that comes with a bit of a safety warning. We're going to look at making fire by friction. Now, anytime you do anything that involves fire or using sharp knives or anything like that, you've got to be extra careful. You've got to know what you're doing, and you're going to need to have adult supervision. Now, the way I always sort of describe it is that if you rub your hands together really, really fast, they start to get hot. Now, that's friction. That friction rubbing against each other, two surfaces rubbing together, will make it get hot. And that principle can be taken further into making fire, and it goes back, blimey, to the dawn of time, I guess. And the invention of fire was one of the things that helped us to progress as humans. Now, I've had to do a bit of preparation to get us into this point so far. So what I've done is I've got a few little bits and pieces ready. The first thing that I've had to do is get the twigs and the sticks and the branches and the things that we're going to need to use. The first thing we'll have a look at is we're going to use a fire bow. So it looks like a bow and arrow, hence the name of fire bow. Now, this stick here is around about 75 centimetres long. And what I've done, I've attached a cord to both ends, and to stop it slipping, I've just made a bit of a split in the end, and I've wrapped it round until it's attached on both ends, and you can see it has that look of a bow. Okay, so we're going to make a fire bow and friction using a fire by friction using this. So what we need to do next is we need to have what they call a drill. So the drill is the bit that will spin around to make it get hot, to make the fire. So my drill is around about 2 centimeters wide, and it's about, or started off, you can see I've used it a few times, it started off to be about 25 centimeters long. Now, both the bow and the drill are hazel. The drill in particular is very, very dry. This was an old straight piece of hazel. The bow, you can see, it's not particularly bow shaped, but it's got a bit of a curve into it. So we've got the bow, we've got the drill. The next thing we're going to need is the hearth. So that's the bit that's it's going to go into, and you can see with the hearth, this is another piece of hazel. And what I've done with this is that I've cut a small sort of groove in there, and I've put a notch in it. Now, the reason for that is that the drill will spin in there like that, and as it spins, it's going to create hot dust, essentially, which will collect down in that groove. So we've got the hearth made out of hazel with a little groove and the notch. We've got the drill, which is going to sit in there, and we've got the bow. Now, the final piece that we need is the bearing block. Now, this can be any wood. I can't even remember what this piece of wood is. I've got a feeling it was apple wood. And this bearing block is what we press down on top of the drill. So like that, and we're going to press that down into the hearth. Now, you can see, now you've seen all the pieces, you can see that the business end by there is more rounded to get the greatest amount of friction, and the bearing end is shaped into more of a point, not into a real point, so it reduces the friction. And in the bearing block, I just put a little tiny drop of oil to help it spin. So as it spins round, it'll do that. So the idea is we're going to twist the bow onto the drill. Now, this is tricky in itself because it wants to spin out. So we twist it on like that so it goes around it, and then as we move it side to side, it's going to rotate and it's going to spin, and the bearing block will sit on top like that, and I'll press down on that, and it will all be pressing down into the hearth. So that's the principle behind it, and that spinning, that will be rubbing into the hearth and creating that friction, getting very, very hot. So, oopsie. So What we're going to need to do now is a few other little bits of preparation, because once we've got that hot ash, that hot ember in there, we're going to create this dark dust, and inside of that it'll get so hot it will start to glow. So that's the first part of it. That's where we'll aim to get to. But after that, to create the fire, I'm going to have tinder. Now I'm going to prepare that separately, and what I'm going to use is one of my favourite materials for lighting fires, and that's birch bark, the papery bark that comes off birch trees. Now that's very flammable. It has oils in it, which is great for lighting the fire, okay? And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some fine scrapings off, I think I've got it up there, off a bamboo cane. Now if I scrape down this bamboo cane, it will create like fine shavings, dusty shavings. Now that is fantastic when coupled with the birch bark for lighting a fire. So we'll get ourselves ready and we'll give it a go. Now, one of the things we need to mention about lighting fire by friction, it's hard work. It takes preparation, it takes time, and it's physically hard going. It's usually better to work with somebody, I find, especially if it's children having a go at it, and they can work in sort of teams of 3, somebody holding the bearing block down, somebody moving the bow, and somebody with their foot on the hearth, as you'll see in a minute. But at the moment, as I said, I've prepared, that's my bamboo cane. Now I've been using a sharp knife and I've been scraping it down like that, and what it's done, it's created this fantastic, very dry, feathery tinder like that, which will take an ember really well. Now I'm going to make a bit more of this, prepare it with the birch bark, ready to use the drill. Okay, so what we've done for now, I've just moved around a bit and I've put a board down. This is in an old shed, but there's soil under there. But I've put a board down to help to make it a bit clearer. So, and what I've also done, I've got an old piece of that is cherry bark, and that's so I can collect my my ember once it starts going. So we'll take that hearth board and I'm going to put it down there. And the first thing I'm going to do is put my foot on top of it. That needs to be very stable. Then I'm going to take my drill and my bow and I'm going to twist it around the cord. Oops, there we go. So remember, the thick end is going to go into the hearth like that, and then the bearing block's going to go on top like that, and there it is. That's your basic setup. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start moving it back and forth. Now it's going to be very difficult to see. Perhaps I'll move the camera a bit closer when we get started, and you'll start to see the black sort of hot dust collect, and the ember will collect down in there. So here we go. So nice, slow, steady movements. Sometimes you can do this for quite a while. Keeping the bow nice and straight. Now I can already start to smell this smoke coming up, and I can start to see the black hot ember dust being created, starting to go down into that little V channel. And you should be able to see the smoke billowing out now. Okay, so we've got a really good ember there. So I'll bring my tin over, and now I'm going to very carefully just use that. It doesn't really matter what it is, just a little stick to carefully drop that ember. Can you see the ember there smouldering? Drop it down into the tinder. Now what I'm going to do is very carefully, that's a very strong ember, so that's great. Just carefully wrap it up, and then I'm going to very gently blow on it. I can see that getting stronger in there. See by the way the smoke is increasing. Really close now. Just roll him over there. There we are. There we go. That is how you make fire by friction. Hard work. But man, there's nothing more satisfying than that. If I wanted to keep that going, I would put very fine bits of stick on that, and then thicker and thicker, making sure everything is really dry. But I'm just going to let that slowly burn out. Here's my... just move it round so it all burns completely. Yeah, that's the birch bark underneath still burning. Here we go. And that is that. Okay, so there we go, making fire. But just remember, everything involved in this it's hard work, it's really tiring. Working together is the answer, and everything gets hot. The hearth gets incredibly hot. The drill gets unbelievably hot. Everything's hard work. Sometimes the drill will flip out of the bow and spin round and catch you on the fingers. You've got to be super careful. And obviously I used a knife to scrape my tinder off that, there it is, off that bamboo cane. Anytime you're doing anything like this, you need support, you need help, you need an adult with you to do it. It's a lot of hard work, like I said. Perseverance, resilience. There are times, I mean, that took me way longer than the last time I did it. The last time I did it, it was up and lit within about 3 minutes. This has taken me go after go after go. Same kit, same bow, same drill. It's just a different day. Slightly damper today, damper in the atmosphere. Perhaps I'm a bit more tired, who knows. Anyway, it's great. It's such a satisfying thing to have a go at, and when it finally lights, it's just great. So I mean, as long as you're safe, as long as you're careful, go and have a go and enjoy.